Guys, I'm back. Yeah, I'm still on the case. Been monitoring this thing at least twice a day. These ISWA simulations and the Discover data. But I mean, there's been some subtle things going on, but nothing that merited making another video, I didn't think, until today. I've never seen anything like this before. The magnetopause is getting crimped way in to the 540.54 mark. We'll pull this one over. 524. See all these blue interplanetary magnetic field lines? Looks like to me that some of these polar cap field lines, which are black, once they get away from the planet, they turn blue because they're encountering another planet's magnetic field. Therefore, they're turning into interplanetary magnetic field lines. I think that's what's happening here. Well, you could see the crimp here, 536. There's 540. See how this black polar cap field line came out? I guess it stayed black. But look at the orientation of this. So there's something over here that's causing the Earth to throw out a lot of the black polar cap field lines out in front of the planet. And I would say that if you read my hypothesis number one, if you watched any of these videos, that we definitely have a big planet fronting the Earth, and all these blue interplanetary magnetic field lines, and then the black polar cap field lines going out and squiggling around and turning blue, further suggests to me that that's another planet out there. Look at that. That's at 720. See what it looks like here at 720. Well, you can see we got a whole bunch of pressure behind the planet. Um, and another thing I noticed before we get off of this one, remember how the Earth was balling up the black field lines, turning them red because they became closed? Well, now the black field lines, once they get out there away from the planet, they're just turning blue for the most part. There's some red ones there. And if you'll notice, we'll start it at the beginning. Okay, Nemesis has to be back here somewhere. Look at all these blue interplanetary magnetic field lines trying to make inroads to the planet. So what I think's happening is this big planet's out here in front of the Earth. No telling exactly how close it is. I mean, can't be super, super close. But it passed ACE on the 16th. And here's the Solar Ham tutorial, which is in a link in the description box. You really should pull this up and read it, especially this thing about the blue lines. These are their interplanetary magnetic field lines carried by the solar wind. Now, especially I've pointed out that if this phi angle, and this is shown on the Discover, would be 0 degrees if it were pointing at the sun from the Earth, and 180 degrees for pointing from the sun to the Earth. And it says the only time that rapid changes in the phi angle are in conjunction with increased solar wind speeds and the BZ fluctuations, which is this is the BZ. Now these two just indicate Earth connections with the sun. I haven't noticed too much correlation between these and the IMF blue lines, but I think they are starting to interact together more and more, as well as I noticed that subtle changes I noticed are that the solar wind and these interplanetary magnetic field connections we've been having with Nemesis, you can see anything above 180 indicates a connection with something behind the Earth. Now, ever since this big planet parked in front of the Earth, it's been helping to make a sun to the Earth connection, or vice versa, Earth to the sun connection through that big planet with that extra magnetic pull. And I've been noticing that this is kind of going away now, and now I think that big planet's making more of a connection with Nemesis now. As you can see, these numbers, which they fluctuate quite a bit, but for the most part they're staying above 180, which indicates a connection of the Earth to some solar body behind our planet. And the solar wind speed came up just a little bit. I mean, it's only up in the 430 range. You can see they got this thing dialed way back. Normal solar wind speed's 400 to 700 kilometers per second, and normally that's what this graph would show you, but they have it way down to 25 kilometer per second increments. And the solar wind density, that has been piling up out around the L1 Lagrange point whenever the solar wind gets low. So the solar wind from Nemesis is making it around that big planet now. And things are piling up just like they used to before. So that's another thing that tells me it's getting closer to the Earth, if you follow my drift. And then as the wind speed came up, the solar wind density went down at the L1 Lagrange point. So here's the L1 Lagrange point. This is out here 930,000 miles in front of the planet. This is where ACE and Discover are parked. And I've just been showing you Discover because it's got better graphics and more detailed information as far as numerical displays go. So this large planet that was producing 8-9 hour gaps in front of ACE for like the longest time. It used to be 4 to 5 hours back in like January, February. Then it grew to 8 hours, 9 hours up on October 16th, and that's when it passed. Once it passed ACE, then it started producing gaps between ACE and the Earth in the data collection between the satellite relay to the Earth's data collection stations. And that lasted for about a week or so. 8 hour gap, 7-8 hour gaps, 9 hour gap at one point. So ever since then it's been getting closer to the planet. So what I think's happening is this big planet's getting closer to the Earth. Nemesis, it's hard to say if it's getting closer or not, but this big planet with its magnetic pull and connection, it's connecting to Nemesis through or around the Earth. And these blue interplanetary magnetic field lines you see reaching out, trying to touch us, they're becoming more predominant. And then when we have just the other day I made the vid, it showed you the red field lines way out here past the 100 Earth radii, which is 400,000 miles, and it was well past there and was full of red. Well, now these field lines, they start out red and then they turn blue because they're making a connection with Nemesis. As you can see there, I better speed this up. So let's run this through real quick. Show you these squiggly lines because I got some high solar wind speeds to cover too. Now here's another thing. Look how this thing's being depressed. Now I showed you the solar wind speed on Discover. This is getting depressed all the way down to 7 Earth radii. Normal is about 10. Now we've developed a secondary bow shock due to this planet out in front. As you can see, it's pushes well past 15, but when it gets depressed like that, that's at the 444 mark. You can see we're getting something thrown at us from that big planet, some type of fluctuation in the solar wind and solar density. So that's knocking that way down, but watch how far it goes out. Look at the secondary bow shocks, well past 15 Earth radii. So, I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on. I think we're in like the middle of a squeeze play between Nemesis and this big planet that's fronting the Earth. Now, we did have some extra solar wind speed develop, and it only lasted for a couple hours. It wasn't a 5-hour event. But, so here it started at 2324, 1119, UTC 2324. You can see it went to 1345, 959, 1019, 950. You guys really should have this full screen thing clicked and then just click allow once, and then when you want to get back out you just click it again. It'll help you see this stuff a lot better. So I notice when I replay the videos it helps a lot to have the full screen clicked. And then there's another event. So we had about an hour or so lull between these high solar wind speeds and got up to 14 something. These here, okay, so these things cut out at 1120, 804 UTC. This one actually cut out at 800 UTC for some reason. But look at all this density coming in. You see that? It can't be from the sun. So that's that big planet, fluctuations of its magnetic field lines, throwing stuff around, and or trying to connect to Nemesis, and that's pulling stuff toward the Earth, would be my way to look at it. Now these things here, they stopped running at 120 or 416 rather, instead of 800 or 804 for some reason. Watch these lines here. You can see they get some breaks periodically. Look how the false bow shock behind the Earth gets depressed in, and you can see there's some extra electron volts bleeding in at the 100,000 or 100 keV mark. See how this thing gets split? False bow shock behind the Earth, it splits and then it allows extra energy, and I've never seen it split before. I mean, it may have, but usually it just gets pressed like that and then the thing starts lighting up. But now we're getting some breaks. So if that's the reason why this thing was cut off 4 hours before the other ones, I can't say for sure, but it looks like to me a lot of extra energy piled in there, got in between the bow shock and the planet, and then you can see these colors all got a lot brighter, and the blacks and the purples. Now if you have it on full screen you can actually see the blacks, you can see the purples in here. See? Purple. So I'm running out of time. That's my take on it. We are in between a squeeze play. Nemesis is back here somewhere, and the big planet is out here between us and the sun. You can see how that false bow shock's going way out to try to repel it. Okay, God bless, peace, and I'm out.